It's kind of also like with Biden, like when Biden ran for office last time, or for president last time, they would. I like when they try to co-opt lefty talking points. That's always funny when they try to do stuff like that, and they'll say, "Well, Biden wrote the crime bill, and so that's how he's best." Like, okay, is Joe Biden too tough on crime, or is he a lawless Antifa thug? Like, well, which one is it? You cannot have it both ways, and they always try to. But as far as the border thing, where they say that no one wants to work anymore, and we need to block all these immigrants coming from taking the jobs. That when it gets down to it, I don't know if they've even thought this through, but a lot of them, like the smart ones, actually do have a solution with that. It's like, yeah, we want people to work the jobs. We just want certain people to work the jobs. Like we need to make sure that white people are having more and more kids to fill these. So we got to ban abortion and stuff like that, because the country can't get too spicy, if you know what I mean. Because then we're looking at societal collapse. And a lot of conservative views boil down to racism or bigotry. Like pretty much all of them every time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't think. I don't think. I think a lot of conservatives are unaware of their racism. Like,
yeah.
Like there's tons of racism out there. But a lot of conservatives, the way that they operate, the way that their brain works, they have no idea that is based on racism. And a lot of that just goes back to what you talked about how we're raised in school, and what the narrative is of how the only thing that you learn about, just little blips. All right, the Civil War ended, slavery ended, Jim Crow ended with the Civil Rights Movement, and you really never get into any real social impacts of any of those. Even in those time periods, you don't discuss. Nope. You don't discuss what day-to-day life was from 1866, after slavery is ended with the constitutional amendment, to 1964, when the Civil Rights Movement act is passed. The average person, particularly the average white person like me, had no idea until you start going to college and digging into it yourself, or being confronted by a professor who's doing their job in teaching what social impacts these things had no idea what life was like for the average black person during those time periods. Oh, well, they weren't allowed to live a certain place, they had to drink out of this water fountain. But the day-to-day interactions between the two races and what that looked like, nobody has any idea.
Yeah. Yeah, they see racism as like an inconvenience. Like, oh, you couldn't use the same bathroom or something like that. And also, the reason they don't think they're racist is because this actually isn't their fault, because this is kind of what we're taught in American media and in American education system until you get a higher education, where some Trotskyist will brainwash you and tell you what racism is. But is that they'll say, their definition of a racist is someone who attends Klan meetings, and anything below that is not racist. Like that's the way they see it. They're like, well, listen, I don't have any personal animus against people because of the color of their skin. And that's where it starts and stops for them. They don't think any further the fact that, oh, I'm supporting this policy that disproportionately affects people of color, therefore I'm making their lives more difficult. No, they don't think about it that way. They just think about the fact that, oh, I haven't burned a cross in my life, so I must not be a racist.
Right. And I don't use the N-word like Papa did. I mean, and Papa, even though he used the N-word, he wasn't really racist.
He was a good old boy.
That's just talk back then.
That's the unfortunate reality of it, that it's hard to get that message across, because in their mind, they are not actually being racist. They're not. They're like, they don't realize that the policies they support are actually, racist in that aspect.